In my opinion, there is nothing quite as good as a nice, hot bath. Unfortunately, I've never owned a home that had one of those nice jetted garden tubs, but my parents bought a house and they had one, and so I would sometimes go over to their house for the sole purpose of borrowing their bathtub. And at that time, I had a little tiny baby, and so taking a long soak in any tub was nearly impossible. I would pack up the baby and take some of my favorite scrubs and bubble baths, and I would head over to their house. I would walk in, hand them the baby, and then headed up the stairs to begin my purification ritual. One time I had the water running and the steam was building up in the bathroom. It was just such a nice crescendo to my event. Had all my bottles lining the edge of the tub. I think I even lit one of their scented candles to get the ambiance just right. And as I was testing the water with my toe, I heard my father through the door say, "Be careful with the plug. It can be a little sensitive." Okay, no big deal, I thought. Sounded kind of like an offhanded comment, like an afterthought. No big deal. But what he should have said, rather, was, "Be careful. If you even barely graze it with your foot, then the plug will disengage and the water will start to slowly drain from the tub." Now, you might think it would be quite easy to tell if the water is draining from the tub, but when you're in full ambiance mode, I mean, you might have your earbuds in, your head is against that inflatable pillow, you're really in another world. You might even have that washcloth over your eyes, getting the full steamy effect. Everything was fine, at least for a moment, and then the water, as it descended, reached the line of the jets. And if you don't have enough water in the bathtub to keep the jets submerged, then the water hits the jets and spews out all over the bathroom. And so my moment of peace quickly became a reign of terror in about 2 seconds. I could not gather my wits about me to figure out what was going on. And then I just started screaming until I grabbed a towel and my father had to run in and turn off the jets. And let me tell you, that was several shades of awkward for us. Since that time, I've never quite enjoyed taking a soak in the tub, not their tub at least. Believe me, I went back over there and I tried to recreate the scene, but I'd be so tense about having my foot touch that stupid plug that I never could quite enjoy the experience after that. Now, I just deal with showers. And when I step into my hot shower, either at the beginning of the day to help wake me up and prepare me for the day ahead, or sometimes at the end of a long day to wash off all the events that have happened and to help me get to sleep. And some days I do both. I'm fortunate that we are equipped with plenty of hot water, thanks to our overworked hot water heater at the parsonage. And I have some things that try to make it as pleasant as possible. I try out different shampoos and conditioners and body washes. I even have a few scrubs and different things for my face. So there are these practical aspects to bathing. You know, we got to clean ourselves. But I would be lying if I said that I got into the shower to only clean myself. You see, I continue to linger under the head, the hot water cascading over me. I try to justify this luxury in my life by making it a holy moment. Take a few minutes to connect with God. I give thanks for my bodies and all the different ways that it works. I let that water go down my tense shoulders and try to loosen it up. I enjoy the peace that I can experience as I go into the one room in the house that I can enter into by myself, and then I can engage in that purifying and wonderful activity. I can take extended showers to clean myself, but if nothing else takes place, I basically emerge the same person that I was before I entered the Holy of Holies. Yeah, my outside is a little cleaner, but nothing on the inside has really changed significantly. Although I might be in a better mood, and that might count for something if you ask my family, but basically I'm clean and I smell good. I haven't really undergone much change. Now the thought occurred to me to continue to link the analogy of the bathroom as the entire tabernacle and the shower as the Holy of Holies, which is actually behind the curtain. But I think we should allow that metaphor to rest. It's reached its limits. Lest you would think that I had an ego problem and I was equating myself to Jesus Christ who enters into the Holy of Holies, or worse, you would think of me as the high priest that only goes in there once a year, and I can assure you that is far from the case. So what we might be getting from this text is helping us gain a greater understanding of who Christ is and what that still means for us today in this world. The author of Hebrews, as you can tell, is describing the rituals of the Hebrew people, especially when they were in the desert. They created a portable tabernacle, and it traveled with them, and the priests could enter the outside. And in fact, they had daily duties of keeping the lampstand lit, and they had weekly responsibilities for the changing out of the bread of presence. There were sacrifices made there for breaches between the people and their God in covenant. And these sacrifices, this blood that was shed, offered reconciliation and forgiveness. So through this system, the people remained in covenant with God, and God remained in loving covenant with them. So this occurred throughout the year. But there was this really, really special day. Once a year it occurred, and it was called the Day of Atonement, or as we call it today, Yom Kippur. That is when the high priest, not the regular guys that could come and go from the outer tent, but the high priest, he was allowed to go into the Holy of Holies. And he would offer a special animal sacrifice, and he would take that blood and sprinkle it all over and on the seat of mercy. And this really absolved the people of their sins, even those inadvertent ones that we all commit. And it made them once again whole in the eyes of God. And so this New Testament author isn't going through this vast description to make the case that this system was bad. Not at all. It seems that the author is recognizing just how valuable this system was, and for all these many years, it made perfect sense. If this book was written to address the Hebrew people or the people of Jewish faith, then it is acknowledging in a positive light their system of religion. The author is speaking a language that they can understand. While we recognize all the ways that it worked, we still also recognize that it kept the people in a state of nearly always needing to atone for something. You know how it is. You're forgiven. You feel great about it. Go to sleep, wake up next day, you do something else, and then you need forgiveness all over again. And so what we're talking about is atonement, or to atone. And that's a special sounding word, but it sounds more complicated than it really is. You can break it down into two words: at one. The author is demonstrating that there is this new system that can make us at one with God. And this is once and for all. This new system is Jesus Christ. For the past several weeks, we as a congregation have been considering how Jesus is the perfect high priest. Jesus Christ entered as the high priest into the Holy of Holies and offered his blood as the sacrifice. This was a one and done, once and for all eternity kind of sacrifice. It is in line with that previous tradition, but it points us to a new and different quality of life after that sacrifice. You see, that previous state kept the people needing to return over and over, but this one does not. It is like we emerge from the shower, and not only is our outside clean, but our inside is transformed. Our minds and our hearts have also been purified. It says that it helps us in perfecting our conscience. Conscience in the Greek literally means with science, but more loosely, it's associated with knowledge. And so now through Jesus, we have this knowledge, this awareness of all of our surroundings. And we can take all this in as thinking individuals, and also in the light of what Christ has done for us. And now we can make decisions that affect our lives. We can think what it means to make moral decisions, and how that not only affects our lives, but the lives of others. Now that Jesus has entered the holy place, he turns around and opens it up and gives us access. To what? To what do we have access now? Well, for starters, we have direct access to God. There is no requirement to go through a priest or to have that priest slaughter a poor innocent animal and to shed that blood. Second, it gives us access to holy places. Can you think of a place that is particularly holy to you? I want you to envision that place right now and how you feel when you are there. When some close their eyes and think of holy places, perhaps church camp comes to mind. For other people, it might be this very sanctuary. Some might have gone to far-off places, and you found yourself standing even there on holy ground. And while it might be nice to travel to the Grand Canyon, or to Zay, France, or to Iona, Scotland, those are not requirements. You see, we no longer have to go in search of holy places. We need only to open our eyes and our hearts, and then we realize there we are, standing on holy ground. God would not remain in the Holy of Holies, in that shrine and a tabernacle, and God would not remain confined to the temple in Jerusalem. Christ set our perception of God free so that with our conscience we can access God at all times and at all places. This is perhaps why this part of Hebrews references Jeremiah 31, verses 31 through 34, which states that this is a new covenant, that God will be with us, and we will be God's people. No longer will the covenant be written in the sky by a rainbow or delivered by tablets from a mountain by Moses. No, this is the new covenant. This covenant, like God, is always with us. Why? Because it's written on our hearts. The way that it got impressed upon our hearts is by what Christ did for us. That might help us think that some of the most common things that we do can in fact be holy acts. Gathering at a table with friends, holy. Holding a newborn baby in your arms, holy. Witnessing a sunset off the back deck of your home, holy. Getting up early, watching the sun rise, and giving thanks for those new mercies every day, that is holy. Stepping into a shower might be holy. Now with this conscience in place, we can enjoy these things. But it also comes with a little bit of responsibility, doesn't it? Once you know about things, it kind of makes you question. Do all people have access to good friends and can eat good food at holy tables? If not, then what am I, as a follower of Christ, called to do about it? Do all people have access to a nice hospital in which they can give birth to a healthy child? Do they have a healthy baby? And if not, why? all people see beautiful sunsets, what about those who are in solitary confinement for the rest of their lives? What does that do to their soul? And well, showers. We don't really need to talk about showers, do we? I mean, that's just a real basic thing. We don't have to question the implications of your daily bath or shower. We'll just question those other things, the things that you enjoy, not the things that I enjoy. That's not really how conscience works. It kind of eats at you. It brings awareness. It brings consciousness to the things that you really wish that it wouldn't. And so now, as I prepare for my favorite moment of the day, my shower, I might need to pause and ask, especially as I'm running the water and waiting for it to get hot, how valuable is this commodity that's running down my drain? It's clean water that I'm using to bathe myself, but some people struggle just to have it to drink. Not only for drinking, but cooking, washing clothes. What about citizens in Flint, Michigan, where the children already are suffering cognitive deficiencies because of their exposure to lead in the water, a water source that they thought was safe. And now that gets me thinking about this presentation I heard when I was serving another church. These people came in and showed us how they go to underdeveloped places and they dig wells that are kind of like merry-go-rounds. So even as the children play and spin on them, it's digging deeper and deeper to clean wells. And now I'm wondering, after that presentation, I took their materials, did I even turn around and make a donation to that good work they're doing? And what about those girls and young women that I learned about when I went to the Heifer Ranch in Perryville, Arkansas, and we had to carry large jugs of water perched on top of our heads? And we only had a short distance to go, but I understand that some people spend all day traveling to a water source and getting whatever amount they can carry and taking it back to their village. And now all of these things kind of occur to me all at once, just from this basic act of heading to the shower and turning on the faucet. Thanks a lot, conscience. From a website that tracks consumption called World Counts, I learned that the average person needs 5 liters of water a day just to drink. And that's to survive in a moderate climate with very little physical activity. An average American uses 100 to 175 gallons of water per day. Globally, we consume around 4 trillion cubic meters of fresh water a year. Perfecting my conscience. Having a developed, or at least a repaired conscience makes it difficult to do the things that we have always done without every now and then pausing and placing ourselves under a microscope. We have to examine what we're doing. And once we know better, hopefully we do better. The rituals of the tabernacle, they serve their purposes for time and place. But once Jesus came into the Holy of Holies, he made it accessible to all people. And now we know that we have a better option available. And once we know better, then we can do better. I wonder, in light of this scripture, or perhaps in light of this sermon, what you know better. And now I also wonder what you will do differently. Now that you know Christ came to perfect the conscience of the worshiper, which is us, how does that change you for living? Under the lordship of Christ, who interceded on our behalf, we don't have to wait until we die to be perfected. We don't have to wait until we die to be free and to become redeemed people. If we believe the scriptures, then we know we have been made clean, inside and out. And that makes us liberated for living. You know better, and so you can be better. And then you can go and you can do better. That is the role of the church for the people today and this world today. Thanks be to God.